mother, my heart breaks for her. I take care of her as best I can, but the worst thing for me is knowing that there's nothing I can really do about it.
Patti has the worst case that I'm aware of, and I've been part of the support community from basically the beginning of internet support for this condition.
So if you could just please tell us a little bit about your condition.
So for 34 years I've suffered from hidradenitis suppurativa, which is an autoimmune disease that deals with the skin. Less than 5% are reported to have it, but those numbers could be higher because it's such a shameful and embarrassing disease that many people don't come forward. And the people that do come forward are upset that they did because there's so many doctors that don't believe it to be as serious as it is, and there's very minimal treatments and questionable surgeries. So many people that do come forward regret it because they end up not getting any satisfaction anyway. Well, the early stages are 1, 2, and 3, which are pretty much outdated. The doctors still use them, but according to patients, it's pretty much outdated because it doesn't really describe in accuracy what goes on with the body. Usually the disease is in the armpits and under the breast, but I am less than 1% that have it vaginally. I have End Stage Vaginal Hidradenitis Suppurativa, and that started about 10 years ago. And I suffered a little bit with it under the breast and in the armpits when I was in high school. That went away, and I thought I was okay, but then it developed in the groin and vaginal area, and it just has gone really bad since then. Having this disease has changed my life in ways that I never imagined possible, and the way I'm living now is not at all what I dreamed about when I was growing up.
So if you could just walk us through this. I know what we do know is there isn't enough known about HS.
Correct. There are some specialists in the country that do work on it, but it's very rare to find a doctor who's knowledgeable. It starts out as just some painful bumps under the skin, but the worse it gets, your skin starts tracking, and then you're left with ulcerated open sores that constantly bleed and pus, and even if they heal, you're left with such thick scarring that it's almost impossible. If you have it like I do, it's almost impossible to walk, to take stairs, to just basically function. I mean, there's people that have a stage 1, a lower stage, where they can still live their life, and they get one lump and it's drained and they can go about their day. But when it gets to the more serious stages, your life is completely affected in more ways than physical, emotional, even financially, because of what you have to do to take care of yourself. I mean, it can run into the thousands of dollars for bandages, and that's items that insurance does not cover. So you really run into a lot of issues.
What exactly have you suffered from as a result of this disease?
Well, I basically lost my life to it. I no longer can work. I am still functioning to the point where I still can take care of my children, but because of the disease, I have developed sepsis 3 times. The first 2 were quite serious. Those were about 10 years ago. The 3rd time I just had it was about 2 years ago. And I was diagnosed in an emergency room. I had just gone there for pain management because I had gotten cellulitis in my leg. And he said, because of your history, I'm going to do a blood culture on you. And my husband was with me at the time. And he said, we'll call you if something comes up. Well, a couple of days later, they called me and they had me rushed back into the hospital because I was already in organ shutdown. And I was diagnosed with a bacteria that has not been seen in the United States since 1947. And they didn't know how to treat me. They put me in isolation. They said they had to call the Centers for Disease Control. They actually had to find the medicine to treat me because they don't make it in the United States anymore. Had to be flown in actually from Holland. And they couldn't tell me what was going to happen. So I was in the hospital for a while. They did get the medicine to treat me, but I really thought that this was the time that this was going to be it, because nobody survived sepsis once, and here I was with it a 3rd time, and I thought for sure this was it. And it's living every day wondering, am I going to get an infection today? I'm feeling kind of hot. Do I have a fever? I feel like I'm characterized by this disease. I feel like it's all I am. Even though I know I'm not, it makes me feel like this is all I am, and I have nothing else about me except I'm just the girl who's sick. This last time that I had sepsis, I thought that it was going to be the last time I was ever going to have it. I thought it was going to be the last time of anything, because it was so serious and they couldn't find a way to treat me, and nobody would tell me what the outcome was going to be, so I really thought this was it.
If you could tell us how a skin disease could result in complications such as this. Again, we know that there's little research done on HS. It's just wild that what begins as lesions could ultimately lead to so much worse.
Completely understandable, and that's a question that a lot of people ask, and the best way that I heard it described was by one of my doctors, who said that the disease is not the same as AIDS, but what happens with AIDS is that you don't die from AIDS, you die from the complications that goes along with it, which is like HS. You get sick and it sometimes can be fatal from the complications that arise, like the staph that you can get because you have open wounds. It leads you to not being able to use public restrooms, use public transportation, because germs are all over the place. And anytime that germ wants to get on your body, you are just ripe for that germ to crawl into your body and just be able to get in there and cause all the problems. And the inflammation that comes along with it, that causes heart problems, and the skin being traumatized will usually lead to skin cancer with HS patients. And I've had 4 rounds of melanoma with HS because of the skin being in an area and it was so traumatized that it develops into cancer.
With all these complications and health issues, what is daily life for you? What is different? What is, how do you live every day, with knowing that this is something that could lead to death?
Well, that's pretty much how I wake up, knowing that eventually this disease is going to take my life. And I guess I could lay down and cry every day, but I get up and I try to be positive. I have 3 wonderful children that I take care of. I have an amazing marriage. I couldn't ask for anything better than what I have in my marriage right now. And I have 3 amazing children that keep me going. But my days are somewhat depressing. I mean, I can't do a lot. I sleep a lot. I never feel right. I always feel sick and tired and dizzy, and I always have to be careful of everything, and I can't always go out with friends because I can't go to restaurants, and I can't, because if I go to a restaurant, what if I have to use the bathroom, and then I can't use the bathroom, or I can't be in somebody else's car because I don't know who was sitting in their car before. Do they have something that I could catch? And so I'm always having to think 3 steps ahead. Like, I can't just say, sure, I'll meet you there. It's like it takes me days to make a decision if I'm going to do something. So I spend a lot of my time in bed sleeping, reading, and basically just hanging out with my husband, who takes care of me on a daily basis.
Let's go back to the beginning. When you were first diagnosed, what was it like then, and how is it different now?
Well, when I first noticed something was wrong, I was 8, and it was about maybe 8 to 10 months after I had got my first menstrual cycle, because I got it at 8. And I started getting, of course I really didn't have breasts yet, but I started getting these sores on my chest, and I didn't know what they were because I was so young. And my mom took me to the doctor, and they said I had something called sebaceous cyst, which is normal. People get them every day. But then I started getting things in my, under my arms, and this continued on until I was a teenager. And they didn't know what it was. Nobody had ever mentioned hidradenitis suppurativa to me. So I went through my teenage years just thinking I had these cysts but then as it started to get worse and I went into my later teens, I went to Yale University in Connecticut, which is where I'm from originally. And I met a doctor there. His name was Dr. Heald, and he was amazing, and he was the first one that diagnosed me at 19. So I went all that time without a diagnosis. Yeah, and he was the one that actually took the time. I remember I had a 4-hour appointment with him, and he explained it to me, and he said, I can't believe that this has been going on so long and no one has taken care of you. And then by that time it had started vaginally, not nearly as bad as anyone ever thought it was going to be. I guess the difference now is that I'm older and I'm more educated in the condition. I know what to look for in a doctor. I know what to ask when I go, and I know about my disease. When I was in my teenage years and younger, I didn't know anything about it because no one had ever heard of it then. Mainly no one ever hears of it now. But I've met a community of people who I said, you know what, I have that. And then I met another person who said, you know what, I think I have that. And then it just kept going on and on from there. And it's amazing the people that I have met that have been misdiagnosed, that have been told they have cancer, told they have Crohn's disease, told they have so many different things, when really what they had was the HS. And now that I'm older, I worry more because I know what I've been through. Like the doctors told me this last time, that the next time you get sepsis, and they told me it's probably going to happen again, there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to treat you this time, because I've become so immune to so many antibiotics because I've spent my whole life on them, that my body just doesn't react to them anymore. And it doesn't take away the infections anymore. Even now I take maintenance drugs and they're not even working anymore. So I take heavy narcotics to relieve the pain. That works, but not as good as it used to. I'm at a level now where I don't think I could go any higher. And that scares me too. Because am I going to live what's left of my life in agonizing pain? And the answers from doctors are probably yes. I went to school, and I went to nursing school, and it was my dream to always be a nurse. But then I got the disease, and it just wasn't possible for me to do that job because I couldn't be around people that were sick because it was too dangerous for me. And it broke my heart because that's what I wanted to do my whole life. And I was never able to do it. It really hurt not being able to do what I always wanted to do in life. And I feel like this disease just stole my dreams away.
So you've mentioned a community of other people with HS. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you found the community of other people that have HS?
Absolutely. Well, when I got married, I wasn't very forthright with my husband because I was nervous and embarrassed, even though being intimate with someone, they're going to know something is wrong with your body, but I never sat down and had the conversation with him, and I don't think he ever asked because he was, probably knew that I was embarrassed and nervous. And as things got progressively worse, I said to myself, there's got to be a forum out there for people. I cannot be the only one with this. So I remember when Facebook first started, when it got really popular, I sat down and I remember typing in the name of the disease, and this one group came up, and I was like, this is wow, and there were only 500 people in it. So I joined it, and Christine was the first person that I spoke to, my friend Christine. And we talked, I think probably for 3 hours that night. And she understood everything, and it was like, oh my God, I am not the only one going through this. But I sent her my pictures, and she was like, are you sure you have HS? And I was like, why? She goes, well, these are my pictures. And I saw her pictures, and it looked like she had nothing. It didn't even look like a disease to me what she had, and I thought to myself, wow, this is bad. And then when I started talking to other people, I did meet other women who suffered from the same areas that I had it in. And they would send me their pictures, and I would say, they look like they have nothing too. And I thought, so I'd send them pictures, and they just would be blown away. So upon meeting hundreds of more people with this, I decided to start my own Facebook group about the disease. And it's called Hidradenitis Strength in Love and Numbers on Facebook. And to this day, we have over 3,000 members. And we have helped people come out and tell their families about this disease because people are embarrassed and they don't want to talk about it. We've referred people to doctors. We have actually saved people from committing suicide because people have come on and said they don't want to live like this anymore. And they were ready to take their own lives, and we've gotten help to them in time. We've also lost a significant number of people in the community, and that's always hard because, for me especially, because I'll hear that they died from cellulitis, and to me cellulitis is like nothing. I get it like once a month, and my doctor always jokes, he goes, I think you have survivor's guilt because you've lived through so much, and then it takes one little thing for somebody else to pass away. And I've talked about that a lot in the group, but meeting everybody in that group has changed who I am, because we've made such a connection. There's like 5 girls that I have that have walked me through all of my surgeries. They've stayed up with me all night talking. They've sent me presents. They say I do for them, but they have done so much more for me. I mean, they have gotten me through. There were nights that I was sitting up after surgery where I thought that my husband is asleep next to me and I'm ready to down this bottle of Oxy because I don't want to live this way anymore. But the group really helped change my outlook on a lot of things.
So we were fortunate enough to get in contact with your friend Christine, who is in your community and your support group. She's also one of your dear friends. And she told us that your condition is the worst that she's ever seen. But what stuck out to us the most is she told us that even though you have the condition the worst, you were the first to drop everything that you had going on for yourself to be there for every single person inside your community. And we were just really taken back by that, and that's a big part of the reason that we wanted to bring you on. And with your story, it really resonates because you're not just trying to, spread awareness, but you're really trying to help everyone that's going through the struggle as well. With most diseases and life struggles, a common misconception is that the person with the disease or the issue or problem that's going on is the only one that's struggling. We have your husband and we have your son here, and after this in the podcast, we're going to be able to sit down with them and really talk to them more about their view of it. And they are both rocks for you through this entire process. So we hope you guys join us after in listening to our podcast to hear more from them. Before we go, we would just like for you to give any type of advice that you can, to maybe someone that's struggling with HS or someone that could potentially have it and haven't gotten yet.
Speaking as someone who hid because of embarrassment for a long time, I urge anybody to come forward and speak to their family, speak to their doctor. Doctor, of course, is confidential. They're not going to say anything. Don't listen to people that tell you that it's just acne and that it's going to go away, because it's so much more than that. You need to reach out and tell a friend. Tell somebody that you trust, because there is help. It may not be the best help out there because of not the disease not being known, but there is help available, especially if you're in a lower stage. Get help, because I know it's embarrassing and I know it's frustrating and I know that you're ashamed, but you cannot get help if you don't reach out. And maybe if I had reached out earlier, maybe I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today.
So we appreciate you giving the advice. If you could just do one more thing and touch on, what got you through this, who got you through this, and, how you were able to get through this with the support system that you had.
Well, during the last 15 years, it's been my husband, who's been the adult by my side and has gotten me through so much. My mom, who's wonderful, an angel, and my children, who I fight for every day. And my son Charlie always goes, Ma, you're always smiling. Why are you always happy, like when you're so sick? And I just say, because I don't want to become someone who lays down and cries all the time, because it's not going to fix me. So why don't I just be happy? Because I have so much to be thankful for. I may be sick and this may take my life, but I have so many wonderful blessings. 3 of them are my children, my husband, and my mom, and I couldn't think of a better life than this, even though I'm sick. I couldn't be more blessed than I am today. So if you're watching this and you've either told someone or you haven't told someone, the biggest thing that you have to know is that it's not your fault. No matter what anyone says, hygiene has nothing to do with it. Of course, you have to take care of yourself when you're sick with this disease, but you could shower 10 times a day with 10 bars of soap. It's not going to make a difference. And it's not your fault. You didn't do anything to cause this. It's just an unfortunate thing that has happened to you, like it happened to me. But I know now, after many years of blaming myself, it's not my fault. And I don't blame myself anymore because I know I couldn't have prevented it no matter what.
I just wanted to thank you, Patti, for joining us and being brave enough to tell us about your story, and not only me, whoever else is listening as well, and for continuing to remain positive throughout all of this. It really is truly inspiring.
When I first wrote into these guys, and I didn't think I'd get a response, but when I did, they gave me this platform to come on and share, and I can only hope that if I touch one person's life, then I know that this was all worth it. And I can't thank them enough for having me on. They've been great, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
For the haters, come on, do it now or later. Whoa, yeah. It don't matter what your name is, share your story, we'll be waiting. Go.